Hello everyone, Richard Carlton here. Welcome to Monday here at 1 o'clock in California. It's time for some FileMaker training. It's 1 hour of topic-specific FileMaker training, and we invite everyone here who's watching live to ask questions. You can watch it live on Twitch, or you can watch it live on YouTube, actually. And I've been told that it's supposed to be doing 1080 broadcast both ways, which is really great. So I want to welcome you to today. Today's topic is FileMaker Cloud Dos. That's Spanish for those of you who've never heard of Spanish before. So very technical, right? FileMaker Dos. So anyway, the idea is that we are going to be demoing it, getting into it, explaining it, walking through it. It's actually not so complicated that we can't cover it probably in 30 minutes. So definitely ask questions as you go. As I've been reviewing the videos, what I try to do is I try to get into the content first before I start answering questions. You guys have questions. I want to say shout out to Echo Foxtrot Golf and Sao Paulo, Brazil. Welcome. Awesome. IMOG is here. And and then IMOG, I received a note from the president. Some staff were asking me, if my connection to Donald Trump was allowing me to have a conversation with him. I said, yeah, no problem. He has me on speed dial because, everyone needs a FileMaker person, right? And it was funny because he said that all the FileMaker users were being sentenced to home confinement and they had to come to training. It was kind of funny. So anyway, welcome back. And I think Christian is here, Christian Olson. If there's a Wolfpaw 69, that would be Christian. He is happy to be here helping as well. And we're in Arkansas. Awesome, once again. And then hopefully Top Cat, some of the other folks will make it here as well. So real quick, to let everyone know that last week we had a really epically great week. And so I want to show you a couple minor things real quick. First off, we have posted the Calvin charting demo. The folks, I have two assistants, obviously. I have one assistant who is David Castillo, who's one of our video editing guys. He's here. David, are you there? Can I hear you?
Yes, sir. I'm right here.
David is there. He is an awesome guy. He does video editing. He actually helps clean up the video streams. He's also in the middle of producing our FileMaker 19 video course. Right, David?
Certainly are.
Very exciting. So what I want to do is, David, you can go ahead and mute yourself, but as people come up and they have questions, like Spectra has questions, etc., then what we can do is we will respond to those and answer those. Now, last week, Calvin had a really great demo, and so what we've done is we've posted the link, and there's a bit.ly link to it. And here's the file right here. If you take a look at it, it's pretty awesome, actually. I'm going to go ahead. I have a button now queued up so I can hide my desktop icons. If I come over here and I say make that full screen, does it work? Almost works, kind of works. Yeah, there it goes. So it stretches it out, makes it full screen. So this is the charting demo that we have. There is a button here to watch the video. This button, it's already wired up to go to a link, but it doesn't work yet for another hour or two. Whenever you get the edit done on that video for people. Yes? So, yes, David?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, David knows that pressure's on because I just called him out in front of about 8 billion people that are watching this live. And so the goal for him, of course, is to make sure that he edits that, he'll post it, and then this button will work. Right now, the button doesn't work. So if you want the demo, you can come over here. David should have put it, but I'm going to go ahead and paste it back over here into Twitch real quick. There is the link. That's actually https://bit.ly. It should kind of auto work. And then if we come over here, partly if you see me over here looking at things, I'm managing the broadcast here in terms of the demo, but then I'm watching the live streams over here to make sure that I am answering questions as best I can. I can bring this up, and then I can see the questions over there. So if you have any questions, let me know. The one button on the screen, I use this on my personal computer because one of the things that I organize my computer by putting little icons in different little compartments and things across the bottom, and I'm very organized like that. Some people, like my wife, just fill up every available inch of screen with icons, so it's beyond unusable. But what I try to do is actually have things organized. But if I'm actually trying to build stuff or build FileMaker or do something like that, it becomes a problem. So what I do is I Like over here are my demos ready to go for you folks. These are my hard drive servers over here. If I had any outstanding projects, it'd be across the top, but that can be distracting. So I have this application called Hide Desktop Pro, and I just have it to a key here, and it just hides it. So then suddenly I feel less stressed. I feel like less things are asking for my attention. I can focus on my development job. So if you're home working and you haven't figured this out, take your cell phone, mute it, put it by the front door, quit answering that, quit checking out the news, just focus and work, because you stressing out and staring at the news will not help you at all. So that's what I tell my staff, is what I would tell you as well. So yeah, that link works, but the link inside for Michael, the link inside that says play the video won't work for another, I don't know, until David gets it together. Right, David? You get it together and put the video up for everyone? Yes?
Yes, sir. It was exporting last time I checked.
Okay, well, don't worry about it right now. We'll pick it up. So say by tomorrow, Tuesday, it'll be fine. So what we're going to go ahead and do is talk about FileMaker Cloud. So what I want to do, so that's the cleanup from last week. Let's talk about FileMaker Cloud 2. So FileMaker Cloud, everyone pretty much has the idea of what FileMaker Server is. What is a FileMaker Server? FileMaker Server is like this machine. FileMaker Server is a ubiquitous term. FileMaker Cloud is a kind of ubiquitous term, and I think I should cover this initially. And the idea with that is, I'm going to go ahead and put David down here, hide him out of the way. The idea with this is that a FileMaker Server is either a piece of software, it's a physical piece of hardware, or people will say, oh, there's something wrong with the FileMaker Server, which loosely means the combination of the hardware and the software together. And so it's kind of one of those, those terms. FileMaker Cloud's the same way. FileMaker Cloud, understand that there's FileMaker Cloud 1.0, there's FileMaker Cloud 2.0. FileMaker, or Claris Corp, hates it when I say that, but Claris doesn't do training like I do training, and they don't understand the confusion that it causes when you have two products in market that have basically the same name. If you go to their product management team or their engineering teams, they call it Cloud 1 or Cloud 2. As soon as it gets to marketing and sales, they call it FileMaker Cloud. There's only one FileMaker Cloud that we want to talk about. It's the current end product, the product that's in market right now, which is version 2. Version 1 is still out there. A lot of you are probably using it. It works fine, but it's not as cool, it's not as easy to set up as the new version. So Cloud 1.0 is still running for you. You cannot buy it new. If you already have it, you get to keep it through January of 2022. So once again, we look at our clocks and we say a little bit less than 2 years. So all of this year, all of next year, and then in January, FileMaker will have some sort of transition or something. I don't know what they're going to do, but the idea is that that server will no longer work anymore. So now keep in mind, FileMaker Cloud 1, there was a version of it for 15 briefly, then there was 16, 17, 18. When FileMaker 19 comes out, there will be a Cloud 1.0 for 19, which has the 19 engine in it. So understand that we say, what kind of FileMaker version are you using in Pro? Well, we have FileMaker 18 or 19, right, or 15 or whatever you're using. The idea is that that is the engine, that's the product under the hood. Cloud is the same way. What engine is running, because you could have FileMaker Cloud 1, but you could have any of those previous versions. The current version is 18. And then sometime in May, probably, if they stay on schedule, you'll get the 19 version, Cloud 1. Now, meanwhile, FileMaker back in September shipped Cloud 2. Now, FileMaker, or when I say FileMaker, Claris Corporation is in the process right now of really ripping products out fast. There's a lot of iterations going on. They're getting to the point that in May will be the last annual release of the product, which means that in May, you'll see FileMaker 19. Then my guess, I don't know this to be a fact, but if you look at historical patterns of what they do, within 3 or 4 months, you will see the next version of the platform. My guess is that they will call that something else. My guess they would call it, because the numbers are getting kind of unwieldy, and a lot of platforms are just calling it like Microsoft 2022. They put the year on there. I think FileMaker will do that. In fact, the CEO sent out a email to everyone, that's not a secret, where he kind of implied that's what they were going to do. The exact naming convention is unknown, but my guess is that they will call the product FileMaker 20, and that will be, but then it'll be like a quarterly release, and theoretically your copy of FileMaker will auto-update to the latest version. Now that right there is potentially scary and is a separate conversation, but the idea is that they're going to be doing faster, quicker updates. Now, the flip side of that is that they're also, in my opinion, seem to be more willing to ship bugs in the product, which is a problem. So FileMaker Cloud 2 came out had some horrifically bad bugs in it, and there was a very slow adoption of the product. And actually, that was September, so now it's, you know, basically 5 months later or 6 months later, and now it's like starting to get pretty good. Most of the big hanging bugs have been taken care of. So if people are asking me about Claris Connect, just came out, and basically all the people who were beta testing it were initially involved with Claris Connect. FileMaker shipped it with a ton of bugs, and they blew up the product the night before they shipped it. So I'm kind of still in this mode where if you have a new version of something, you kind of let it like air out a little bit before you like start adopting it. I mean, you can use it personally, but if you're a developer or in-house or a consultant and you want to promise the client, oh yeah, update right away and it's going to be great, you know, my thought process is always to let it, you know, air out a little bit so you're not the guinea pig, right? So so there is a couple, at least one serious issue hanging with Cloud 2, and I will let you know about that. We have pending open tech support questions with Claris, and they're trying to wrap their heads around the issue, which is really kind of funny. So I will get to that, but it won't affect the vast majority of you. So let's dive into it. So what is it? So first off, Cloud 1.0 is a very hard product to install. Cloud 1, I remember that there's an engineer down there. His name's Clay. He's a great guy. He's like kind of one of the fathers of FileMaker, right? He goes back 30 years. And I remember having lunch with him one time, and he said, yeah, you know, this other team was working on Cloud 1, and I wasn't really involved with it. And then they shipped it. So because Clay, he's an engineer, he works on the product at headquarters in Santa Clara, but he also uses it at home. The best Claris employees are the ones that actually use the product. Fortunately, that's not always the case, but the people that down there who are awesome are the ones who actually use it, and so they actually get it. They understand the benefits and where it gets stuck. Well, Clay goes back and goes, yeah, you know, I was getting to Cloud 1, I started to set it up, and that was confusing, and it took me 3 hours to set it up. Well, anytime the chief is like Scotty in the engine room telling you that it took him 3 hours to turn on some software, that ain't good. And so that's been the kind of the Achilles heel of the Cloud 1 product. It worked, it was okay, it was their first attempt to go to the moon. It's like the first time we went to the moon, 1969, for those of you who, I wasn't even alive then, but right after that, they went to the moon, we got up there, and I think their big claim to fame was that they didn't kill the astronauts, right? And so FileMaker at the time, or Claris now, I think their big claim was to kind of get it working, to see what the feedback was, to not kill anyone, and then to take the next step after that. Well, Cloud 2 is the next step after that. To set it up, it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy. And so let's go through that a little bit. So there's an online purchase process. I'm not going to go through that, but I'm telling you, your average basic end user could just about do it. It's really simple. And the idea really at the end of the day is that FileMaker has, I'm trying to present this in the most useful way possible. I'm going to get rid of my charting demo right here. Is that there's really two web interfaces for FileMaker Cloud. And I'll just say Cloud going forward now, but it's really when I talk about now, we're talking about Cloud 2. There's really two interfaces for it. There's the interface right here, which is what we call the FCC, or the FileMaker Customer Console. Okay, this is where you manage everything except the actual database files and the backups, right? And so really what FileMaker has had is they had, this is the new interface that you get to play with, and there's users in here, and you set up the users, and this host right here, once again, they're back to using this term host. I want to wring someone's neck because no one on the planet uses the word host. They're servers because they serve stuff, right? Everyone knows what a server is. If I go to people in the tech biz, I say, what's a host? They go, duh, I have no idea what a host is. A host is a Airbnb person that hosts their house. That's a host. That's the most common use of the word host. And so that's this interface right here. And then I have a little quickie launcher right here. And then, of course, you have this other interface, which hopefully most of you will recognize. This is the, if it lets me in here, there it goes. This is your FileMaker classic interface. This is the interface that FileMaker came out with, I think, I think it was 17 they came out with this new design. Of course, FileMaker managed to aggravate people, or Claris now, because they removed a lot of features that we had checkboxes and things we could control in the previous version, and they kind of expected the community to take care of this for them, and it didn't really happen. There are a couple kind of like freebie tools out there that help you manage this, but you know, there aren't all the check boxes and options. Like you see some options here. Really, if you were going to do all the options in here, it'd be about double the size on the list. So this is you manage, you can see the databases that are here. You can check out the backups. You can restore from the backups. You can do all that kind of stuff right here. So there are 2 web interfaces. And then along the line, if we get questions, we can, David, if you see questions and they're kind of on topic, then you can kind of interrupt me. Once again, reminder everyone, by the time I say something, there's a 60 to 90 second delay by the time you actually see it on your end. So just remember that. So if I go over here to the home screen, this is where we can, they talk about, creating this and download. The whole idea is that once this is set up and going, when you buy it, the first thing you do is you get this screen right here. And the first person who buys it and sets it up is considered to be a team manager. So when you buy FileMaker Cloud, you're going to have a team. In this case, our team is called RCC. This is the name of the team right here at the top. And so I bought a 5-pack of this new Cloud 2 product because their demos run about 14, 15 days and they die, and it makes it really hard to show people. So I had to buy it, right? So, so what we have is a 5-pack right here. These are the users. Now, once you're set up in here as a team manager, so I am logged on here as Rick right here. This is me. So what I can do is, you see all these other people on here. Well, I've been shooting videos and demos and showing it to people. You can actually sort by these groups. What's important to understand is that this is where we've always said that if you have if you buy a license of FileMaker, you either buy, if you have like 8 people in your office, then you buy 8 seats. If you have 50 people, you buy 15 seats. I'm not talking about concurrency. Let's just leave concurrency out of it. But you buy the number of people that you have that need access to it. Well, in the contract, FileMaker says you have to be able to name these people and identify them specifically. But with FileMaker Server, you can't really do that. Starting with Cloud 2, and I think in future versions of FileMaker Server, you basically have to identify these people. So if I have 5 people, I'm going to have 5 people that are set up and licensed. So this is where you can actually come in here and you can say that this person is a licensed user. Maybe they don't need access today, right? Obviously, I need probably like a 10 or 15 pack, but I don't want to spend another $2,000 on this from FileMaker. But the idea is that I could deactivate people. Like here's Jacob Taylor right here. This is a guy right here. I could say, well, he doesn't really need access anymore, so I can remove as a licensed user. So there's really these different statuses for you to wrap your head around. And once again, this is all about FileMaker ID. And I haven't said that word, but I'm going to say it now. Each person has their own account and they're tracked individually. So the days of using shared passwords are kind of over. Every single individual has their own username, their own password, and so you have to invite them, okay? So let's just take a step back. I'm going to hide this. I'm going to pop up. Let me see if I can do this real quick. Where would that be? Did I have that? Let me see. Save this over here. Save that over here. Oh, you're going to make me dig it out of my Dropbox. That's going to stink. All right, so where? Oh, here it is right here. So this right here, it's really tiny. Let me make it, can I make it bigger? Bigger, bigger. Let me select all, bigger, bigger, bigger. Yeah, duplicate, fine. Okay, now.
Hey, and we have a question.
Okay, 1 second here. I want to bring this up. All right, here we go. All right, what is the question?
It is, so is the FM Cloud 2 ready for deployment? Should it be considered the best version to use now?
I would. Well, okay, let's put it this way. You can't buy Cloud 1 anymore. If you have Cloud 1, you get to keep it until January 2022. But either right now, your only 2 options are FileMaker Server, which is on-premise, Mac or Windows. Now, you can take it to Windows and put it on Amazon. We do that all the time. So you still can take FileMaker Server and put it on the cloud, on Amazon. And we do that, and there's some times to use that. It technically has, in my opinion, more flexibility than FileMaker Cloud 2. But Cloud 2 has this FMID, and let's talk about that briefly. So what I have right here is a document that I call it my glossary. These is a combination of FileMaker definitions and some definitions I've added. And what I want to do is scroll down here and take a look at an important dictionary definition. And so we've already talked about the FileMaker Customer Console. This is the FCC. This is where you manage the web interface to your team but not the databases, not the backups, right? Because there's already a web interface for that. There's really, once again, 2 web interfaces. So if I go to FileMaker ID, and you frequently see it as FMID, right? So if I do this, FMID, you typically see it like that. Now what's really important about this is that FMID is like saying FileMaker server. So FileMaker server, we said a little bit ago, is either the software, it's the hardware, both together. It's kind of a loose term. FileMaker ID is the system. It's like Apple ID or Google ID or whatever. And the idea is that it's specific to a user and it's their own account. However, if we say, hey, to log on to the database, you have to have FileMaker ID, which means that there's an FMID system. FileMaker ID regulates Cloud 2. It also regulates if you want to log in and communicate on FileMaker community forum. And so they have this forum where people put questions and answers and things like that. And so you have to have an FMID to log into that. Well, the same FMID can be used to log into your database. So what's really cool about this is that here is the big benefit of Cloud 2. Besides, it's simple to set up. And when you set it up, FileMaker manages the hardware and the software for you. You never have to manage the server hardware, any of that stuff. The cool part is that if you had 20 or 30 people and you set them all up in FileMaker ID, once again, back on that web interface right over here, you can also assign groups. You could have a sales group or a tech support group or whatever group you wanted to have. You can give those groups access to the FileMaker file. Then if someone quits, leaves, or you hire someone, all you have to do is come over here to like the sales team. Say like, here's a sales team, and Henry, he's gone. He died in a tragic blimp crash. And so he's out of here, and we say we add a new user. We could say, well, let's add Jonathan Ray, or we can add Richard Carlton. And you say add, so you add it to the group, and then wherever that group is being used in the FileMaker files, you've added them to all the files. So if you're familiar with a term called Active Directory, it's Microsoft's. If you have a Windows shop and you have probably 10, 20 machines, and you probably are starting to use Active Directory, it's a single sign-on. The idea is that you sign on once onto a computer. The computer communicates with a security server. They call it domain controller. And it authenticates you on that machine, right? Pretty cool. Same thing here. You log on once, right? And then it's really cool. It makes the management and removal and addition of people so easy. All I have to do is remove them once or add them once or change their password once, and it affects all the FileMaker files. You don't have to go into each FileMaker file and make the change. It's a huge time savings. So, questions. Cloud, what is the level of expertise? It's simple. It's very simple. I'm not going to go through the installation because every time I have to install it, they make me buy it. I mean, Claris is doing really great, but some things they're not so great at, like helping the developers demo it, right? And so I have to arrange for a demo. I have to hold my foot in the air, get the demo link. If I order the demo link too early, it's just a mess. So take my word for it. Trust me, it's name, credit card, and when you set up your first person, you're going to set up the team manager. Let's talk about a new term. So if we go to users, a team manager is someone who can manage the other users. So Garrett Devsky here, he's not currently licensed, which means he's in our system. We've talked to him before, but he has never, he's a team manager, so he can actually manage other people. If you're just a basic person, you can't, when you come to this website, you can actually come to this website, you'll see your host, you can see some FileMaker files that are running on it. Like these are the FileMaker files that are right now running on this Cloud 2 server, okay? But a regular user won't be able to manage other people, okay? They can't manage the groups. They can't manage most of this stuff. All they can do is really download a new copy of FileMaker Pro Advanced and see the files that they have running for the most part. That's really what they're limited to do. So very, very cool. It's neat stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite a alias of an email I have. So let's invite a new user. Now the new user, yeah, let's do that. We can do that. Can we do this? Let's try this. Sign out. I'm signing out. Great. Okay, great. So I'm using my iPad right here. So my iPad is going to be an alternate user. We're calling this person Vacation. So I have an email called Vacation. I used it once on vacation. Ever since then, it's a backup email I use for testing. So it's Vacation at RC Consulting. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say, hey, let's invite a new user. And so after you purchase FileMaker Cloud, you're set up as a team manager, then you can manage the people. So we're going to say, let's invite Fred, Sally, Dick, or Jane. I'm going to say, let's invite Vacation. And it's not a valid email yet at rcconsulting.com. And I can say, add them as a licensed user. I guess I could invite them as they can come in, but they're not licensed at all. So if they're not licensed, they can have FileMaker. They could see the interface in here, but they couldn't log on to any files because there's no available slots for them. Like if you buy a 5-pack and I have 7 employees and 2 people are not going to be able to get in. Now I can deactivate 2 people and then activate the other people, if that makes sense. But it's kind of this idea. You can add them as nothing, so they're in the system but they're not active. You can add them as a licensed user. Let's do that. So let's say add. So it's going to say, hey, it's going to invite that person. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to check my email over here. Whoop, an error occurred. That's not good. Huh. All right, nothing like doing it live in real time. Maybe I timed out. Let me try that again. Let me say, invite a new user. Invite new user. Vacation. I kind of had this prepped a little bit ago, and it tends to time out. There's also an option here for 2-factor authentication, which is really great. I don't have it turned on right now as a general rule. Okay, now this is great. So this is, okay, not my fault. This says the user has a pending invitation. If I come over here to 1, okay, so we got an error, but it actually did process. So here we go. So it says, now I've had people complain about this dialogue, but it's in like 12 languages here, whatever it's in, 6 languages. It says, hey, you've been invited to be part of this team. And so would you like to join the team? And you're like, yeah, it'll be really great. Let's join the team. So my name is I'll say VKR. Last name Carlson, change it a little bit. And my password can be, I don't know. Yeah, see, it enforces it here. I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, but then, okay, so let's try A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. Is it like that? Let me see, A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. No, it doesn't like that. Let me try adding an extra character on here. Okay, I think, nope, it's still mad at me. So I have to have a capital in here. Wow, that's really frustrating. But it's really good security. It's hard for demos, but bad for this. And it needs to be 8 characters or more. Now it's good. So I have 8 characters. Now it'll be a trick to see if I can do this. Now it's sending me a code to my email. And so I'm going to be looking for my email to get a code. Here's my code. My code is this. So it's very similar to things you've already seen. We put the code in, we confirm it. Okay, so now it's logged on here. Well, okay, it went in, but I was already logged on as Rick. So what we're going to do is now I'm going to switch over to my iPad right here. And I'm going to go pop open the QuickTime right here real quick. I'm going to say new movie just so I can get the screen over here. Whoop, hang on, we don't need that. We want the iPad. All right, there's the iPad, right on. Okay, so what we want to do here is, let's see, keyboard off. What I want to do is down the bottom, okay, you got David hiding over there. Let me get rid of that. David, get out of the way. All right, so down there on the bottom left, I have my apps. So I'm going to press my apps down the bottom left down there. And these are the apps that are on my device. Now, we have signed into FileMaker Cloud. So if you're playing with FileMaker 18, you're starting to see this log on to my FileMaker Cloud account. They're not referring to log on to FileMaker Cloud 1. Once again, here we have that conversation. It's Cloud 2, right? So I'm going to click on that. I'm going to say, hey, you want to log on and authorize this device? So I'm going to say, yeah, let's do that. So it's vacation at rcconsulting.com. Say next. And we have a password right here. So I got, and then see if I can get in here with this. Let's see. Oh, I need 2 of those. There we go. Now, what's really cool about this is that now I am authenticated. This device is now authenticated, and it stays authenticated, right? It's really cool. And so if I want to get into a file on my server, I can click over here, and it says, whoa, wait a minute, you're not allowed to see anything, right? So we haven't added the person to any of the files yet. So what we need to do is I'm going to hide this for now. I'm going to come back over here. So I'm logged on as Rick. If we remember, Rick is a manager. So if I come down here, see Rick, I'm a team manager. So I can manage other people, which obviously I can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here. I'm going to find my new person, this person right here. And what I realized, they're not part of any teams, right? So normally you'd have a sales team and maybe a back office team and a tech support team, whatever team you'd have. And I'm going to go ahead and come over here. I'm going to add him to sales. So I'm going to say sales team. I'm going to add nope, not that one. Let's see. Well, let's see. What is it? It's add user. How do I, I have to add, I'm sorry. It's searching down here. There we go. I'm going to add that person right there. And so now it adds it. So now it's added, it's saved automatically. I'm going to flip back over here to here. And I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to click down here. And I'm going to say my apps again, and I want it to update, and it's spinning, and now it sees that it's already authorized to log into a copy of FM Starting Point with a specific privilege set. Now you could click on here. Notice there's no username and password. I'm already logged in. It keeps me logged in. Single sign-on. You sign on once, and then based upon your credentials set in the web interface by a team manager, you get into whatever you need to get into. So very, very, very cool. So, questions?
Yeah, we have a couple.
Yeah, I see the one. Why don't you ask me anything other than the single user? Well, okay, I'll just deal with the single user license of FileMaker. So people ask me about single user license of FileMaker. If you've been watching our training, I've been addressing this about every other live training session. We talk about basically FileMaker is interested in groups of people that are 5 users or more. However, that being said, a lot of developers and myself, and I think FileMaker has been thinking about this for years. Really, they want to make money on their servers. They need to make money on their servers, and nothing would make a bigger splash to the platform than to just give away Pro for single users. Because really, their pricing model is not to really charge for clients. I mean, individual clients. They want to charge for a 5-pack or 10-pack, and then as you start the users to log in here, they see them in here, and this is where FileMaker's making the money. On every one of these, it says license right here. That's where they're making their money. So I have 5 in here. It says I have 1 available, so I have 4 that are in use, and then I could activate someone, right? And of course, like here's one was this Calvin. I sent them the invite, but he never accepted the invite. So I can say maybe withdraw the invitation, right? So I withdraw the invitation, so now he's no longer pending. If he had signed on and accepted, then he would have come in, and I just removed him from that. So FileMaker, I keep every time, you know, they're kind of an interesting organization. It's a corporation. They frequently, of course, have a better idea of their strategy than most anyone else. My job as a senior developer in the community is to kind of understand that strategy and translate it to you. There seems to be a discontinuity in the strategy, I would just tell you. They want to charge for the connections on the server, cloud server, doesn't matter. Eventually, this tech that you're seeing right here is coming to FileMaker server. It's coming to server. So this tech will eventually be in both products. I think a big deal, if they wanted to make a big splash and generate a lot of buzz and get a lot of people talking, would be just to give Pro away for free. But as soon as you connect to a server, then that connection burns a slot that someone has paid for. That would be the smart move because they're already doing that with Go. FileMaker Go is already free. It's been free, right? And because it's free, then FileMaker only makes money when you connect it to a server, right? So they already have the strategy. They just haven't implemented it all the way across the product line. And every time I ask about it, they got to go hum and him and ha. The previous CEO didn't like it. They have a new CEO who's been there about a year, but I don't talk to him. So I don't know what their overarching strategy is. And really, they get tired of me telling them what to do. So I make a real habit of not telling them what to do because then they throw me out of the building, literally is what happens. I'm currently banned. Well, they'll let me in the building, but I have to basically bribe someone or something. I say that loosely. You can't do, I say that HR will come down here and beat me with a stick, but basically you have to find someone to let you in the building, right? It's really tricky because they're so damn busy. Most of the staff down there working like 12 hours a day. They're really, really busy, so you hate to bother them, right? And you definitely hate to bother them and tell them what they should do because that really pisses them off. So as a person who I enjoy, I value the communication with them. I like them to tell me what their strategy is. I leave it up to other people to tell them what to do because if you had someone who was always in your face telling you that you're screwing up all day, eventually you just kind of tune the person out, right? So I don't want to be the person they tune out. So I withhold. Yeah, Calvin's missing out today, but he has a real job, so he's working with customers today. Cool. All right, so so the server is very handy. Other questions we have: can you just host a file locally? Well, okay, so we have a session coming up on Friday called Deprecated Features. Basically, FileMaker's getting. I thought they would do it in 19, but in FileMaker 19, you can still do peer-to-peer sharing. It's still in the product, despite all its huge limitations and liabilities. That feature, if they pull, here's the thing. Think about this objectively. FileMaker should give Pro away. But if they give Pro away right now, you can actually set up your own little server for 5 people, and that completely screws them in a lot of situations where people should pay the money for the 5-pack. I would rather they shut off the peer-to-peer sharing, which doesn't make backups, it doesn't encrypt it. If anyone crashes, it's likely to take all 5 people down. With this technology, with regular server or cloud, if someone crashes, no one else is generally affected, right? It protects everyone. The peer-to-peer sharing is just sketchy. It works. Listen, if you're at an office and you need a quick network for like 2 hours because you're demoing some technology, then peer-to-peer sharing is great for that. But outside of that, you really should be using server, regular server, or FileMaker Cloud. And so the issue is that if the peer-to-peer is still in there, even in 19, they are definitely not going to make 19 free. There's no way in hell they make the Pro product free. And really having a fat client, people have been asking about this for 15, 20 years. The people who are really future, there were some people down at FileMaker, and their names will not be mentioned, Rick and Robert and other PMs, but I didn't want to mention their names. But they've seen this coming, and they are finally being listened to down there by management, and they're in a process of making these improvements and changing things and making them much better. And they know that the client really, just from a logistical standpoint, think about it. If you could remove the Pro and charge for it, you're going to have all these people run around talking about it. These people can use it individually all they want, but then as soon as you want to share it with a team, then you have to pay. That makes a lot of sense. If you're so successful that you're sharing the data with a team, then yeah, you ought to give some money back to FileMaker, right? It can't all be like corporate welfare, free handouts, right? We need to write a check to pay for this stuff so the company keeps going. So very important. Question, use peer-to-peer today, test, app looks like and go and develop. How would I be able to do that without server? How could I do that without server? Okay, backup. So peer-to-peer runs locally on your Mac or Windows computer, and very basic, so you can share an app. But I'm logging onto it here, so you have server or cloud, and this is one of the connections that you log into and you test it. So that's what we're doing. So I didn't understand the question, I guess. So where is the recording of this session to be accessible? Okay, well, TG Bowork, hey bro, person. We haven't finished shooting the video yet. We haven't posted a link. What is it with people asking me to like warp into the future? Warp into the future. Actually, I have something really cool to announce. We actually have a video player app that really kicks butt, being developed by Nick Hunter, and we are going to give that away to everyone, and it will have all the, if you go onto the video player app and you hit refresh the button, it will show you all the live streams. So that is the answer to the question. I don't have it just yet, but I always love people. We keep it on YouTube. YouTube sucks. YouTube puts commercials in it, makes a mess out of it. We're doing our links to Vimeo because I pay Vimeo, then they don't put commercials in it, so it gets rid of all the stupid ads for Viagra or whatever the hell you have ads for, right? New Toyota car or whatever. So I prefer not having ads in my training, right? So let's get back to focusing on this. If you have questions about peer-to-peer versus this, I'm happy to do that. All
Ooh,
right,
one more
cool.
question right here from YouTube,
Yes.
and that is Cloud 2 located also in Europe?
It's okay. Well, if it's not, it will be. It's supposed to be the one gotcha on that. Okay, that's a good question. The one gotcha is that when you set it up, it will check your billing address, the zip code of the billing where you're billing, writing the check from, and it will pick a server. So when you're setting it up, you don't get to choose the. See, think about all the questions you could ask a brand new person, right? If you're asking a brand new person, like, well, where would you like your server to be put for maximum performance? The average user has no idea what the hell you just said. Okay, and so that's one of those things that FileMaker has made it simpler, right? For example, when you set up Cloud 1 or FileMaker Server, you need an SSL certificate, so you have to go through that process. This thing does it automatically. It sets up the SSL for you automatically. You don't have to do anything. It just like does it, right? It's very cool. And so the same with asking where the server should be saved. So the good thing is that it does automatically. The bad thing is that if you have a billing address, say in California for some reason, and you happen to have all your users in Europe, then it's going to create a server closest to the billing address. I think in the future, once again, FileMaker will address that. But if you're setting up Cloud 2, you're buying Cloud 2, make sure that the zip code for where you're paying with the credit card is going to be closest to where the users are. So right now it's East Coast or West Coast. It should be Europe. I don't know the current status at the moment because it always changes. And frankly, right now I'm trying to wrap my head around Claris Connect to see if they removed all the bugs from it. Let's talk about capabilities and limitations of Cloud 2 for the moment. So this is the current Cloud product. So what does it do? What does it not do? So first off, this is the FileMaker. I'm going to go ahead and hide my icons on the desktop. This is the what? FileMaker Customer Console, the FCC. This is the users. These are the groups. We all probably look at the security on one of the files too. Remind me to do that. We haven't quite covered that. We have the hosts, which is our host right here. I guess there's a running assumption that you could have a second host or buy an additional host and have it as part of this account. You'd have to contact FileMaker because the purchase process always assumes that you're a brand new team and you don't already have a server. So say RCC wanted another server somewhere else, I'd contact FileMaker and then they would probably do the order over the phone or something. But the web interface kind of assumes, it was actually really simple, and it's in our FileMaker 19 training. We got this covered in the 19 training, which will be out in about a month and a half or so. So really it's not a 19 thing, but we just that's our next big update for our video training. So if your subscription is up to date for our training videos, you will get that training for free. If your training subscription is expired, you won't get that. So we have settings here. So these are some of the settings that you have here. This is a subscription right here. You can see that we have 3 of 5 users. This is kind of the license key, which is interesting since they don't really use license keys anymore. And it sets the cloud. It sets based on the number of people that you have, like 5 people or 10 people or 20 or 100. It picks the relative approximate server size for you automatically. And I guess we should talk about pricing at some point. I guess this webinar is going to go a little bit longer because I can say that there's no way. It'll take us to about another 30 minutes to cover everything we need to cover. But what I do want to talk about is the one known issue that we have with this product right now. And it's something that should work, but it doesn't. And we're trying to explain it to FileMaker or Claris, and they're not being excessively, I don't want to say cooperative, but we try to explain it to them, and they're not getting the process. You'd think my guys were, doing something stupid, but it's just it's an understanding issue on their end. So this is once again, this is the FCC. This is the classic server interface. If you look at server for FileMaker Server or Cloud 1, the interface is the same. Over here, you can look at the connectors, and you can see that the FileMaker Data API is enabled. At this time, this technology doesn't work, period. And so the FileMaker Data API is effectively where in FileMaker Server, you could do like PHP connections and XML connections. You can interact with data that way. Well, the PHP and XML is not as part of the product. As of the current time, as of this moment right now, on March 30th, 2020, this doesn't work. And we've had a couple people online tech support saying, well, you can get it to work if you set up a node server and another server and then do some other magical stuff. We've done quite a bit of magical stuff, but setting up 2 servers to support this to get it to work, 2 additional servers, that's a little excessive, and I'm not even sure it would work right now. It's not, according to FileMaker, when you follow their instructions, according to Claris and their instructions for enabling a public-facing web page to access it, it doesn't work. And it's because their settings on Amazon are incorrect. And so as soon as they get that straightened out, I will be happy to let people know. But if you need a public-facing website to talk to the database here, it doesn't do it right now. It's supposed to, it just doesn't. And at some point, they will figure out that people are unhappy about it, then they'll fix it. I just don't think it's gotten the visibility that it needs to have yet. A lot of times we send emails out, and like I said, I can't yell at FileMaker or Claris too much because then they'll quit listening to me. So I have to kind of like let the rest of you complain if you find something you don't like. Please do that, right? So let them know what you like and don't like. Some of this is really quite great. So that's the one downside. So it fully supports FileMaker Pro, FileMaker Go, FileMaker WebDirect. All that works just fine. The new version is supposed to support Active Directory. So if you are a Microsoft shop and you're using Active Directory, you could tie Active Directory to the FileMaker ID. Makes sense? And so you can connect those. I haven't done it. I'm not a Microsoft shop, but there are people who say that it works. According to FileMaker, they say they have it running. So, questions. Cloud 2, virtual machine, RAM, disk space. So Dave is asking a question here about they don't really give you a lot of choices on, once again, this is, okay, so the upside is that you're not responsible for the hardware, the server, and taking care of the technology. The downside is that you don't get to tell them what kind of server you want to use. You're going to use a Core 2 Xeon with 12 processors, terabytes of RAM. That's not a conversation you can have at all. Zero. All you can do is basically go to settings over here, you go to subscription, and on this one I'm not allowed to change it, but what you could do is you could change, click here right here, and you can see the different compute sizes, whatnot, but these are the sizes that you have. This is it. It's kind of the same with Cloud 1, except that with Cloud 1, well actually no, it's pretty much the same as Cloud 1. So you have low, you have basically low, a little bit bigger, bigger, and then super big, right? And when you get up to this 4XL, excuse me, I'm coughing. It's got a lot of RAM and stuff, so this is like for 100 users, right? You can upsize the compute size. Now they're going to charge you more per month. You can upsize it and make the request generally. But what ends up happening here is that you can only upsize to these things here. You can't get specific. So if you want to specifically control the hardware, the drives, the SSDs, all that kind of stuff, you must use FileMaker Server and then deploy that to Amazon or have it in your office. We deploy almost all of our FileMaker servers to Windows on the same EC2 technology that's right here, except that we can specifically control the config, right? So anyway, so if you're like want to tightly control stuff, then yeah, you got to go FileMaker Server. You can upgrade it here once again. Let's talk about pricing real quick. So if I go to Claris.com, this is a part where some of you are about to barf. If I go to pricing, basically, once again, they don't want to charge for Pro individually. I mean, you can find it here somewhere. They really want you to buy one of these things. And so this is the one I bought. It's the $19. It's limited to 5 or 10 users, and it's about $19 per user per month. This is pretty price competitive. It's a pretty good deal. It's hard to beat this price yourself. In between here is an upgrade if you're already a FileMaker Cloud 1 user or a FileMaker Server user with a group of like 5, 10 pack or whatever. They have the ability for you to upgrade to a $25 per user tier. You don't see it here. It's probably a limited time thing, but given the way business is right now, they probably would be happy to take your money. So if you're an existing user and you want to upgrade to Cloud 2, $25 per user per month, pretty competitive. This price right here, I got people who have sworn that they could beat this price and take a trip to Hawaii for a week and then still come back and be money ahead by using their own FileMaker server. So it's a matter of whether you have an IT team, a tech team, and you want them to deal with this. When you deal with a company in IT, Some IT groups are cooperative. Some of them are not cooperative. You know what I'm talking about. When you call tech support and they don't even like, what do you want? So you don't want anyone to talk to those people. So maybe you want to have FileMaker do this for you. If you have a very engaging and helpful tech support team, and they really have this thing about security, like certain pharmaceutical companies like Biorad. The tech support team was pretty responsive, but they really wanted to have tight controls because they're dealing with pharmaceutical data and confidential information. So they would really build their own server. They would never want this to run up in the cloud. They want it to run in their own data center. So and once again, that's a decision. Really, the biggest decision on whether you use cloud or FileMaker server is whether you have a cooperative IT team. Now, if you're the IT person, then do you want to monkey with it? And do you want to be responsible for it? Yes, then use FileMaker server. No, then use this stuff. And once again, remember there is this $25 tier in the middle. Where are stored data in the container fields? Yeah, so David's asking a question about container fields. It's no different than how FileMaker server operates now, or as Cloud One operates now. The container data are stored in files. Okay. That's a whole separate, I guess we should have a webinar on containers, but to jump ahead without, it's containers are either internally stored in a file or they're externally stored in a file. If they're externally stored in a file, then they would be in a path next to it. Once again, with Cloud 2, you can't get in there and monkey around. There's no like command line interface to get in there. So FileMaker is saving it parallel, and you get the benefits of the performance of an externally stored container. With FileMaker server, you can actually configure it to store the containers on a different drive, which is interesting. There are some performance benefits to that potentially. My server guy does it. Jacob is really quite good, and a lot of you who are watching here have met him, know him, so he's happy to help you with that. If you have questions or you have tech support questions about this stuff, feel free to email support@RC Consulting. So with HIPAA, the way HIPAA goes, that's a really good question. Generally, Amazon got to a point where they commoditized HIPAA, and it used to be like a special thing. You had to pay Amazon like an extra like $1,500 a month or something. It was like this extra fee. Now it's just, I don't think it's that way anymore. I think it's kind of a standard thing that they've set up. That being said, FileMaker, yeah, really good question. I don't know the answer to that. We'll write that down or send it into the FileMaker community forum and ask them that question. So, yeah, so other questions about FileMaker Cloud? Oh, wait, okay, back up. We do need to talk about, very important before I get too far ahead of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. This is our my glossary here. Really great glossary of FileMaker terms, right? And including some notes that I have. So anyway, at some point, if you folks are interested in the glossary, make sure that you ask me about that, and maybe I'll make it available. What I'm going to do is I want to go into here, FileMaker, and I'm logged on. If I go to, I'm going to close the file right here. I'm going to say, actually, I think I need to sign on. So if you're in FileMaker, actually, let me cancel here. Go here, let me go here, then let me go back to FileMaker. Okay, this is what frequently you will see this dialog, right? So once you're part of a team and you see this dialog, you can just sign in. It keeps you signed in. Now I'm going to sign in as the more of an administrative kind of person, and because we need to take a look at some important stuff here. Password. Oh, it should have made the password automatically, right? Well, it's going to lose it. That's great. All right. Good. It's going in. So it's authorizing my copy of Pro. Now, here's my copy of Pro. Here I am right here. It's got a notification. I can click Show Me the Notification. It says that, yeah, this other person accepted my invite, whatever, so that's good. So now I'm going to go and close that. And, of course, it's still showing that I have a notification. It won't stop. Some point that'll update. But there's little goofy things like that that it needs to figure out. So anyway, these are the files that are not only on the Cloud 2 server, they're the ones that I am authorized to access based upon my credentials. So I'm going to go and open a copy of Starting Point, since most of you are familiar with that product here. I'm going to open it up. You'll recognize this. Notice it didn't ask me for the username and password because it already knows who I am. Now let's take a look. Super, super important. Manage, security. The other day we had a conversation about security. I said we would come back to a setting in here. What I want to do is explain something to you. There are two pop-ups right here that are super important, okay? Now mine says RCC because that's my team. There are really two settings here for security. This setting right here, FileMaker File or External Server, this is for locally hosted files on Pro, locally hosted files on Go, or files that are hosted on FileMaker Server or Cloud 1. So it's basically everything, for the time being, everything except Cloud 2. If you want to authenticate a user with Cloud 2, you come over here. It's the same kind of thing. You have a username, they have a name, and it can be a specific person or it can be a group. So you actually never put the passwords in here. This is the cool part. So I could say, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to get rid of these. Well, let me just create a new one here. So I'm going to say new. So this is a new account. Now notice I can't just type in the account in here. And I can't type in the password. That's already set up in the FileMaker customer console. So the information that we're, no, not that window. Get rid of that window. Is it this one? That's a different one. Let me go over here. FileMaker, well, I could try to log in here. Let's see, Rick. Consulting.com. See if it lets me. There it goes. Thank you. So this is the FileMaker. No, it's the wrong one. Okay, dang it. Hang on one second here. Well, actually, I could show it right here. You could say info. It shows the group. So this is all set up right now based on, click over here. Let me come back over here. Sorry. If you hit this right here, it will pop the customer console for you. I should have thought of that. Okay, so here is the user. So this, it's already set up here. So this right here is talking to your copy of FileMaker Pro or Go. It's feeding the data out of here into there, both the individual users and the groups. And so you can set up a password to a person, right? So I come over here, I can say, show me the users. We could say, go to the vacation person, we could add them, and then we can give them a privilege set. So the privilege sets are identical, but the users are pre-set up either as a user or a group. Once again, so I could say, that's a user, but what if I just want to do a group? We could say, oh, this give the sales team access, except that I've already done that up here. So this is really kind of the benefit of Active Directory if you're in a Microsoft shop. But this is FileMaker's version of single sign-on. It's really awesome. It's my opinion, the #1 feature of this product because it makes management. If you have 5 people, no one cares, right? But if you got, like I have anywhere from 25 to 30 people or 35 people sometimes on the staff, and you're trying to manage all those people, and it's better to have a system set up like this. So much cooler. So questions. We're coming up 2 o'clock. It's been 1 hour. I'm not trying to, I will stay as long as we have questions. But very important. So understand that the security credentials here in this section right here are the only way that Cloud 2 will authenticate. So if this is totally blank, the file cannot be uploaded to Cloud 2. So to go through this, so I'm going to go ahead and discard this. I'm going to close this just to make it easy. I'm going to come over to FileMaker. I'm going to say, hey, let's create a new file. We'll call it the new contacts file. We'll call it imog contacts. See if he's still paying attention. And so here's imog contacts. And you say, hey, let's share this. Let's share it right away with the cloud. So I go share, upload to host, upload to server. Okay. Oh, it needs a password. Okay, so we're going to set a password on the file. So password is 1234. 123. Now you're going like, what the hell, right? Because this is the security for the FileMaker server running at local or Cloud 1. This is not the security for Cloud 2. So it makes you set that first, and you go, oh. So it says, okay, we're going to close it down. I'm going to come over here. These are my existing servers, but I want to come up here to my Cloud 2 server. And so I want to upload it up here, and it says, oh, you cannot upload the file because you haven't set security up for Cloud 2. So it's like, eh. So let me move that out of the way. Let me show my desktop icons. There's imog contacts. So imog is, I think it's admin probably 1, 2, 3, 4. And so we come back over here. And so we look right here and you say file, you say manage, you say security right here. And you'll notice that this is a security, once again, test question. Local use of a FileMaker file, local on any client. FileMaker server, FileMaker Cloud 1. Once again, we have to identify these things properly, right? But if I come over here, there's nothing in here. It's empty. That's why we can't upload it to Cloud 2 yet. It needs at least one credential, and it should be at least the admin credential. So we're going to say load it up. Let's say the access should be full access. And I'm just going to come over here. I have a group called admins. I'm just going to set it up like that. I'll say OK. Now I can try to hit share again, upload to host. OK. And then it's going to think about it, talk about it, going, oh, yeah, it's ready to be uploaded. And it says it's going to open it automatically. And there's an important part here that you're going to, I'll get to that in a second. He's back to peer-to-peer. Files being uploaded. Files being uploaded. And we are waiting. But it's a very small file. And so you're going like, wow, there it goes. So now it's going to open it. Opens automatically. So that right there is the simplest it's ever been. Cloud 1 puts you through a lot more dialogues and problems. And you're like, wow, that's really cool. Okay, so here's the thing. Because Apple is Apple and they're very security oriented, and Claris is owned by Apple, and so when Claris does things, Apple actually kind of audits it and makes sure that they follow the rules and they're super security oriented. If I come over here to the browser and I say, I'll go to the, did it not come up? Where's it at? Hello? Customer console. Okay, allow. All right, so I'm in the cloud console right here. I'm going to go ahead and sign in. Very important kind of thing that's coming in here. So this is really important. Super, like probably one of the most important things that you're going to run into. And why is it showing me 0? It's lost. Okay, every once in a while the product loses. Oh, there we go. I held the option key down. I did a super reload. These are the files that are running right here. This is iMod context. It's a file I just posted, okay? Now, back to the security with Apple. Apple requires encryption all the time. So when you set up the service, you get an SSL for free. That's part of why the monthly price per user is so high. They're including the hardware, the software license, and the SSL certificate. They include all of that, which is great. It makes it very simple. If I come over here and I click on this, they won't host a file unless it's encrypted. At no time did we ever encrypt. It's called encryption at rest, or EAR. So you'll hear about this EAR encryption. At no time did we encrypt it. So when we uploaded it, FileMaker Cloud 2 said, I got this file. It looks good. There's a credential in it so we can log on to it, right? We put the security in there. And then it goes, oh, it's not encrypted. We need to encrypt it. And in the old system, it would give the user another poor end user question. Would you like to encrypt it? And what would you like the encryption key to be? And are you sure you really want to do this? All sorts of questions that a basic end user is going to not be able to handle. So what it does is it randomly grabs a encryption password and sets it, right? And so what you need to do is that when you host files, I recommend you come over here and you say, show me the encryption password, right? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to log on to this right here. It wants you to re-authenticate. And because this is one of those things that if the file is encrypted and you download the file, say it's on Cloud 2, and you want to download the file and use it, it's going to ask you for this encryption code. You must have this. This encryption is over and above the normal security. So if you bring the file down, it's encrypted. It's going to ask you for the encryption code first, then basically a username and password secondarily, right? So I'm going to say Rick at RC Consulting. I'm going to put a password in here, and it's going to say, okay. And this is my browser saying, you sure, you sure, you sure, you sure? I don't know what it just did. Hello, sign in. Okay, what the heck? Why can you not encrypt it? Let me try it again. Show password. I wonder if it's my browser was giving me grief there. So what it does, it re-authenticates again. And then it should just display it to you automatically. There it is. All right, so it worked that time. So my browser, my Safari browser, asked for, you sure you want to allow it to do it? And then it got lost. But here it is. So that is the key that you'd want to write down. Let me be very clear. You cannot lose this key. You really, really need to write it down, stick it in a safe deposit box, tattoo it to your, when I was in college and I have a formula or something important for a test, they say tattoo it to my butt. Don't lose it. So you need to take this encryption key and save it and never, never, never lose it, because you really need that key for your file. Now keep in mind, the FileMaker Cloud 2 server knows that it created the key, it knows what it is, so it uses it to get into the file for you. But if you bring the file down, you're going to need that to get back in. Questions? Yes, using a server copy, I would buy Compia FM Server 18 before Claris. Okay, so back up. So Michael. So people are like losing their mind about the peer-to-peer stuff. If you are a developer and you want to do testing, what you need to do is you need to go and buy for $99 the FileMaker FDS. So the FileMaker, let me see if the best way to do it. It's called the FileMaker Developer Subscription right here. Ow, I hit the wrong button. Dang it. Subscription, there we go. And what this is, hello. I got it. Someone's running ads there. Oh, ClarStore, developer subscription. Here we go. All right, great. Close that. So it's $99 a year. And what it is, it's a Compia server, your own Compia server, and a copy of Pro to go with it. But the server is a 3-connection server, so it allows you to test with like 3 connections on here. It's for testing only. Okay, so the idea is that you, as a developer, you set it up and you could do your own testing with this. This is what you want. So everyone who's asking me about that, yes. And David's asking, does FileMaker Cloud 2 have multi-factor authentication? Yes, it uses a phone, your phone number, kind of like Apple does that with the, oh, you want to get in the App Store, please put your code in there and it sends you the code to your phone. It has that. I have it turned off for me because it's really hard to do demos if I'm here constantly trying to re-authenticate with a phone, but it's in there. Yes, it's in there. And so, Michael, you have currently FM17. If you bought this right now, you get 18, the 18 developer pack. It's $99 a year. You get some other stuff with it, but really it's a 3 license here. Once again, check it out. I highly recommend it. Back to iMog. If they've got peer-to-peer, how would I be able to test? Okay. Okay, well, I'm not going to address peer-to-peer anymore. Peer-to-peer and server and Cloud 2 all basically work the same from an end-user perspective. You log on, you see the file, and you use it. This is the answer for peer-to-peer. It's a $99 option. I think peer-to-peer is still in 19, but I was shocked they left it in there. It should have been removed already. So anyway, FDS, I think. I have that, and I can test on the server. Is iMog that is most concerned? Perfect answer. Yeah. So I mean, the reality is at the end of the day, in an ideal world, Pro would be free, Go would be free, and if you wanted a lightweight development pack, even with cloud or whatever, you could do FDS. Now FDS, this is no cloud on this product right here that you see on screen. It's only FileMaker Server, Mac, and Windows. There are talks about having a Linux version of FileMaker Server. I don't have a schedule for that. I've heard anywhere from soon to maybe whenever, and so I don't have an answer. People say, well, you can't talk about this, it's unreleased. Go to the FileMakers website. They're pretty much talking about everything, kind of vaguely. So they've gone from being 007 secret to telling you all sorts of stuff, including making promises that they might deliver someday, some year. Promises that are way out there on their kind of vision, right? So you have to differentiate when you talk to them between near-term stuff, like I'd say within the next year, and then out there stuff, which they, I don't know that there's a fully established plan for some of that, right? So I mean, they like the other day they were like, hey, we're going to fully support Android. People are asking, it was a Go, they were talking about Go, and it came up in our Go conversation a week ago. It was like, hey, are you going to fully support Android? They said their VP, before they could get him to be quiet, committed to supporting Android, not necessarily in Go, but more supporting it fully. And I was like, okay, what does that mean, right? So I don't know, right? So once again, Lots of promises, and they are doing some really great stuff, but there's like near-term stuff and then long-term stuff. So this is all near-term. Everything I'm showing you is near-term. So it's a little bit after 2 o'clock my time locally. It's 11 minutes after top of the hour. We've been going at this for about 70 minutes now. Does anyone have any final questions? I think iMog is dead. So he has gone away. We have a couple people questions there. And then what about K-Wolf? What about you, Dave? You got questions?
Yeah, well, there's one a little bit higher up. I'm not sure if we addressed it, but it was, is this run on AWS or Apple server? And then how is the speed?
All right, so Cloud One, which we call it Cloud One, FileMaker now calls it FileMaker Cloud for AWS. This is the kind of the crazy naming they've got going on. That was their first product that runs on AWS. This is FileMaker Cloud 2, which they only call Cloud. It's running on AWS too. So both of them run on AWS. Cloud One is the legacy product. It still works. It'll be supported through, once again, January of 2022. If you already have it, just keep using it. I mean, there's no real giant reason to jump over to Cloud 2 unless you don't have a server at all right now. And then you need to choose between FileMaker Server in-house and Cloud, the new Cloud. And the question is do you have the server, the technical skills to do it yourself, or do you have server people that love you, that will talk to you, that will treat you well? And if you don't have that, then either you go to Cloud 2 or call my team. We'll take care of it for you. Jacob, awesome. He can handle that. Jacob and Brian, actually. So send an email to support@RC Consulting. They can help with that. 10 out of 10. So apparently, once again, we're all going to be stuck together here for at least another month. For me to put together a presentation, you can see all the training we do in the video recording, but I have to do it kind of cold and live, and we don't practice a lot, so we have to be reasonably competent before we get up here live and talk to people. So we do appreciate it. And then so Wolfpaw69 says that he got to hear most of it because he was off drinking a pint of Guinness in between. So don't drink and drive with FileMaker too much. All right, so I appreciate it. So it's the schedule. Once again, let's talk about schedules real quick. I'm going to close that, hide the outside things. I'm going to bring up our live schedule. How do you see the live schedule, you ask? Very awesome. You go to fmtraining.tv and you hit the live tab right here. And then tomorrow are 5 successful habits of an alcoholic FileMaker developer. That's that section right there. The day after that is April Fool's Day, which we've been working on some stuff. We'll see if it works out or not, but it'll be a fun session for us on that. And then over here, we're going to have the tool menu. This came up because some of you were digging through the tool menu in FileMaker. So that's all about this tools menu up here, and specifically the developer utilities. We want to look at some of that. That's kind of interesting. And then after that, we have a real basic on CRMs, etc. Some of you are way past that. iMog will probably be off drinking that day. He won't want to be here. And then Monday, a week from today, is deprecated features of FileMaker, which is the first time we've ever really talked about that. And so it's where we're going to address, I guess, peer-to-peer. I have to address it just to address it. But we're going to talk about, the kiosk mode, which blew Calvin up one time, and and all the other little features that are in there, including the runtime, which has been, it's in 18, but it's not in there for 19. So I will be happy to tell you what has been removed. So questions, any other final questions before we kick it off? T-Rex cosplay. Okay, we will do that tomorrow. I think the T-Rex is here. Yeah, he's over in the corner over there. I will get him out. That'll be awesome. So, hi, I'm Rich Carlton. This is fmtraining.tv. We're going to catch you next time.
the guys just stepped up the whole way. Calm, cool, collected, the quarterback. Great read, good patience. More importantly, great job up front protecting this quarterback to give you a chance. And that's all you can ask for.
Try to rally down 10. 9:25 to go here in the fourth. Short motion by Amendola from the left. Brady takes the shotgun snap, stands in, throws it left for Amendola, reaches up and snacks a high throw and lands inside the 10, rolling to the 9. Ball slightly behind him, but Danny makes the grab.